Hey, everybody, it's not Tuesday, but it is time for a Bombcast Revengeance. I'm your host, Jeff Grubb. We're back for Summer Game Fest. My voice is slowly coming back to me. It took a little while this morning to actually get some oomph behind these words, but I'm ready and raring to go, and I'm joined by a cast to talk about what we played at Summer Game Fest, and at least one fool to ask us questions about that. Let's start there. Shawn McDowell, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great, Jeff. I had to do all the work of SGF with no other benefits of being there in person with y'all. It was wonderful.
That sounds delightful.
I love the YouTube comment section right now. They're great.
I'm sure there was definitely a time where I was just like, he's just cleaning up mess after mess. I feel bad for Shawn right now. So
thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
Don't worry. At least I didn't have a illness keeping me out. Shouts to Backlog.
Yeah, shout outs to Backlog, who is bouncing back since he's feeling a lot better.
I got to go to Disneyland and they made a cake of me.
Yes.
That's real tough this weekend.
Real tough. For Mike Minotti, Mike, how's it going?
It's good. It's good. Traveling does always take a lot out of me, no matter how much fun I have. So there's always like just a day where I'm just kind of zombied for a bit, but always very cozy to be home and in familiar settings. My fake dog Penny is back too. We had a good reunion. Yeah, things are good.
Disneyland champion Niki Grayson, how is it?
Hello, good. I saw my dog also for the first time in what felt like 30 years yesterday, which was good. And yeah, I'm feeling good. My voice, I talked so much. And much. I don't mean to be like, to equate our experiences, but I do think Jeff Grubb and I spoke similarly.
Yeah.
Because I was really fucking floating.
Yeah, you, between every segment, everything, yes, you were everywhere.
So my voice is coming back. I'm feeling good. Yeah, tired though.
And Dan Reichert,
yes.
Hey, enjoyer of Disneyland. We don't have to talk about it here, but yes, we were there, had a good time. You're back, ready to talk about games.
Without caveat, enjoyer of Disneyland. Yes, absolutely. But yeah, we can save that for another time.
Yeah, we had a pretty decent crew show us around there. We will find a spot to talk about that for sure. But we have work to do. We played video games, many of which were embargoed until like a couple minutes ago. So we figured we'd do a Bombcast Revengeance here on Wednesday. Talk about what we saw, talk about what we can actually talk about so far. There's still some more stuff we'll have to get to later. But for now, there's plenty to get into. Does anyone have any place they want to start? Do we want to start?
Astro Bot.
Astro Bot's very good. Okay.
Yeah.
So we played Astro Bot at the PlayStation booth at Summer Game Fest on the campus there. It was very good. You guys want to set up the scene?
The scene of
like what we got to play, what we got to do, like what we saw in the game.
Sony was like one of our first appointments, right? And we go down there.
That's the first thing we did.
Yeah, and we saw they had Astro Bot and Lego Horizon, which I think if you watch our coverage, you know how excited we are about that. No, Astro Bot was like, I literally told, I think it was the studio director, I was like, this is as good, if not better, than any Mario game I've ever played, which is, I don't expect him to know how much I love Mario games, but I don't say that lightly. It is, it's exactly what I wanted when I played. It's like, okay, VR, rescue missions, like, yeah, this is really great, but it's VR, it's a pain in the ass to put this helmet on, and it's pretty short. Then Playroom, which is like, this is fucking incredible, but it's a, little 3-hour experience, and this would be amazing if they made like a full-on like Mario Galaxy Odyssey style thing, and this is that. And like from the moment I was like at the main screen, there's like a hub, you're flying the ship around, and then you fly to a planet or something, and then all these levels pan out. I'm like, oh, these are all going to be so much fun. And there's like main levels that you would see in Astro's Playroom. There's challenge levels. There's boss battles. I think did we all play the same thing? It was like 2 standard levels, 2 challenge levels, and a boss fight.
Yes, that's right. And gosh, that was just all so good. It all felt so distinctive and visually interesting, mechanically interesting. They're doing this thing where you get those kind of power-up pickups, like a dog that's a jetpack, right?
Yes,
It's
an
also in that-
inflatable suit, the frog punching gloves that turn you into
boxing
Spider-Man.
gloves that are also a grappling hook.
Yes.
and also
Yeah.
frogs.
Oh, hell
And
yeah.
they're all so good. They all feel great. They all like use the haptics really well. And it's like we had that in Playroom, but in Playroom when you got those things, it was like that. This completely changes how the game works for a bit, right? Like you're in a spring body and you're using
Right.
the analog sticks, and it was like kind of fun, but it was gimmicky. And here, they told me like, no, like this stuff's gonna work more with just the normal 3D platforming now. But even still, each of those things, they said 2 levels, you'll get both of them. Maybe again in like a challenge room, like so 2 or 3 times. That's how often they're introducing new things here. It's incredible.
Well, there was that one challenge level that reminded me of those great challenge levels in Mario Sunshine, where there's all the like spinning blocks and everything, and you get like a thing you can throw, and it like creates like a time bubble. So it's like, here's a bunch of things that are just wildly spinning, or a chain that's wildly flailing around, and you throw the thing, and that gives you some time to kind of hop over the stuff. But it's kind of a time limited thing, so at any point the stuff's gonna start going fast again. So you really got to book it. And I was just every one of these levels, I was going in thinking like, oh god, this is gonna be like a speedrun level, and we're gonna all obsess over this.
And on that, I asked about that, like, hey, like, are we getting the leaderboards again? And they said like at launch, it won't be right away. Then there will be a free update very soon afterward that is going to add that stuff. That's fine. I'm going to need some time to like play through the game, probably 100% the game.
Yep.
Got to get all the bots, got to get all the gotchas and whatever, because it's so fun. And yeah, like you are like rescuing the bots again, and it is a lot of those PlayStation cameos, and it's a lot of the ones we did see in Playroom, like Parappa the Rapper, but then like later in the level, there's Unjammer Lammy. Okay,
Yeah.
that's kind of a funner, more, deep cut thing. We didn't get to go to the level, but there's clearly a level on the world map after you rescue Kratos and his son that is like the God of War level, right? So it is still kind of like this big overall celebration of PlayStation thing that I kind of find endearing.
Well, and a lot of these levels are like linear-ish in the way that like a 3D world level would be, where it's like, you're running around in 3D space, obviously, but it's, there's a start and an end. But every single time I looked off the beaten path, I was like, I wonder if I climb up on that crane and go to the top of that, maybe. And like I was rewarded like almost every single time for exploring, whether it was a coin or a collectible or a bot or something.
The 3D world is a good analogy because it is like mostly linear, but then there's like the hidden things that are worth kind of like snooping around, seeing if maybe you should go left instead of right, that kind of thing.
Okay, that's interesting because, we use Mario's analogy just because that's what people are probably going to be most familiar with. And I was going to ask, what kind of Mario would you most compare this to? And it sounds like, because I thought Playroom was somewhat Galaxy-esque. And so I was wondering where this one would land. If it was
I think Galaxy is what I would compare it to.
It's Galaxy, but with it's like Galaxy 2.
of 3D World Land.
Maybe it's like Galaxy 2, where it's like they just throw in so many ideas so frequently that you're going to be doing something different so often that it's like, man, this just feels like a team that really had a lot of time to understand what their game was, and then that gave them a million more ideas, and they put every single one of the best ideas into the game.
Yeah, because you think about it, like 64, Sunshine, and Odyssey, I would say, are more just like, here's this big sandbox. Like each world is a big sandbox with a bunch of stuff to run around and get. Whereas like Galaxy 2, maybe Galaxy 2 is like the comparison because that has the like world map where you're like going in, you're selecting the level, you have a specific objective you're doing in that level. But yeah, because it's a little bit more open than 3D World. I feel like those levels are a little bit bigger in Astro Bot. So I think Galaxy 2 is probably the comparison.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then, is it better than Mario? It's so hard to say. Mario is so good at certain things. Like the gap closing in Mario is always good. One thing that immediately impressed me here was that boss fight against this giant squid. Because normally, like, the boss fights in these kind of games, the boss has a pattern, hit him 3 times, the pattern slightly changes. This giant octopus was doing so many different things. So many wild things were happening. You're kind of constantly on your toes and figuring stuff out. And it was just this big visual spectacle because it is so big. It was a really cool boss fight. And we saw from that trailer, there's just going to be a ton of those too.
Yeah, and you're like yanking his head down, and then you're going up, like you're using the frog grapple boxing glove thing. So you're like him down, and his like eye is just like huge and fucked up and everything. You're going up, just the trigger's like, bah, 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 bah. It just feels fucking awesome to wail on this octopus. And then in between, like you finish what would be like the Galaxy boss fight. You do the 3 hits or whatever, and like Mike said, it's doing a whole different thing where it's like it backs way up, and then there's a whole stage between you and the octopus with like tidal waves coming in. So you're doing this whole like platforming sequence to get back to him and continue the boss fight. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, it blew me away too. I I was surprised to get out of there and hear Dan say it's as good as or better than any Mario game. And I was like, because I was like secretly, shamefully thinking that as I was playing the game. I'm like, well, it just can't be right. But then with Dan, I'm like, I think it might be, which is, again, this is something holy to me, like when I'm talking about Mario. And of course, everyone knows I love Astro, but it's like, for me with Astro's Playroom, this is a very slimmed down, simplified experience, and they just nail everything with that. So the fact that they are now building on top of all that with a million new ideas,
a full video game,
and and in the early blog post about it, they're like every 10 minutes you're doing something new. And the fact that when we were playing it, it's like it feels much more frequent than that, where it's like and part of that is like they're like what they probably mean is they're introducing one of these new power-ups that frequently. But I'm like, well, no, I have this power-up and now I'm doing something new with the power-up in those 10 minutes very frequently, or just like seeing like a big pile of these balls and then running into them and watching the physics happen as I knock them down and how good that felt.
Remember the magnet thing?
The magnets.
With all those like little metal things that
let me see if I can find that in this B-roll.
Yeah. Oh, that thing's fucking awesome. And for the record, first mainline Astro game. Just in case anyone was wondering.
Oh, Jesus
But
Christ.
it's called Astro Bot, so sure.
Yes. The first one was
yeah.
VR. The second one was like a demo thing. This is the first mainline Astro game.
The devs are on record as saying they're calling it Astro Bot because they see it as a fresh start for what the Astro character is.
I think that's probably fair and probably correct. Yeah, here, if you're watching now on the video, you could see the magnet thing, and it like you just. The way all the little silvery pieces attract to you, it feels so good. And then the fact it turns into a giant ball that you can then throw, it's great too. It's just...
and it also does that Odyssey thing where it's like you get up to like some platform you think you're not allowed to, then all of a sudden like coins show up like, oh yeah, they thought you can get here. And there are little collectibles and stuff. Absolutely my most anticipated game for the rest of the year. Incredible.
Real quick on the powers or whatnot, is it like sorry if you already said it, but is this like a Mario style you're picking up the power up in the level like a flower, or is it a new ability?
Yeah, but you don't lose it. Like you're supposed to get it and you're supposed to have it for basically
it's
the rest
just
of the
like
level.
Astro's Playroom, where it's like you get the suit, you get like you walk up to the suit, it's like, all right, now this is the level where you're doing this.
Yeah,
but
it is not a missable thing. It's not like, oh, I didn't hit that question mark block and now I don't 3D World, you don't have to get the cat suit. You don't have to get the mushroom or whatever. But this one, it's like you're getting the frog things because you're using that to kill the boss, Okay.
Keeping with the Galaxy analogy, then I feel like that's when the game like very clearly wants you to get like the Cloud Mario
or whatever,
the Bee suit, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right. Any other final thoughts about for real, this sounds like hyperbole, but I think it is the best thing I've played this year in terms of a video game.
Yeah.
The words that y'all were using were so glowing when you were talking about it in the car with me. We were at a red light on the way back from the hotel to the studio, or from Summer Games Fest to the studio. I put the car in park, unlocked the doors, and got out of the car.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I didn't want to hear you talk.
That's true.
And Dan looked worried, like, are they leaving? Yeah.
Car's gonna roll into me. No, I honestly don't think I've ever thought or said on a podcast or off that I think a game is as good as like a Mario. Like in terms of platforming, I don't know if I've ever compared a game to Mario in this way. And like this straight up is like, I think I was saying to one of you or more that if you put this and like Mario Odyssey side by side and just give it the exact same skin, it's just like a green character and like just the motion and what you're doing and everything. You don't even know it's Mario. You don't know it's Astro Bot. If they looked identical, I mean, I could totally see myself being like, oh, they're both great, but I think I like this Astro game better.
Yeah, I think you're right. Do we mention the developers mentioning that they really liked our reaction to it?
That was really nice. Yeah, us reacting to the trailer was what do they say? Like when the studio's having like a down day, they show this clip of me and you freaking out about it.
Exactly.
I like hearing when dev teams do that, like when the FF7 Rebirth team was like having issues and they would watch Max's reaction because they were like, look how hype he got.
That's what people were saying. I was telling this story and they're like, you're their Maximilian dude. I'm like, yeah, I think I might be Astro's Max dude. Yes, absolutely. All right. Okay, so the other thing we did play while we were there was Lego Horizon Adventures, which I thought was cute and maybe my favorite Horizon game.
What if right now you saw on your camera me coming up from behind with a leaf blower?
I would be like, that's appropriate. So that's how excited I am about Lego Horizon Adventures.
Yeah.
It's fine. I bet if you had a kid and you need a co-op thing where you can be mildly doing interactive things and the kids running around punching stuff, sure.
The thing for me is that it's I really like the humor of the Lego games and like the Lego universe, like the shows they do that, like, oh, here's the Star Wars Lego stuff. They're very good at that, and that all comes through here, where it's like they're retelling the story of the Horizon games in Lego, and then they make jokes about it every 30 seconds. And I'm like, this is the correct way for me to take down this story. And then the gameplay is, you're right, it's mildly interactive, but it's fun. I suppose the way that they make it look or make it feel like Horizon is, you scan the environment when enemies are around, and that enables you to see the weak points on the enemies, just like in Horizon. And then you just got to get on the right side of them, and then you can like shoot your bow and arrow or throw your spear at that right part of the Lego bricks to break them off, and then they break off like Lego bricks. It all just makes sense when you say it out loud, and it's fine when you're playing it.
Yeah, and it's simplified in the way that, like, yeah, in actual Horizon, you know, there's 3D space and there's a lot more motion and stuff going on. Like this one, you said it. You just got to get on the right general side of the thing, and you can break it off. And you can like add, you know, fire to your arrows and things like that. Like they are doing Horizon stuff in this game, but everything is just very boiled down, obviously.
Yeah, it's very cute, and you know, like sometimes the Lego games are just so simple for me in the gameplay that I can't. This has a slidge isn't a word. A slidge more depth than that. We're gonna go with that as a slidge more depth than
more depth.
Slidge more depth. It's not just like
Sorry.
What the hell?
The Astro did not have audio, so I assumed this would not have audio. But there we go. Now it's muted.
I'm just wondering, Mike still has a Slitter head on his brain, which is just like one of the worst game names of all time.
No, that was Jeff's problem. I don't have that issue.
Yeah, he never thinks about Slitterhead. I can't stop thinking about it. For me, like my big question was, hey, how are they going to have enough content for a Lego game? Because the Lego games are always like, here's 9 Star Wars movies and literally 1,000 characters from the Star Wars universe. Isn't that fun? I'm like, yeah, that's okay. It's overwhelming to me, but I get that that's one of the selling points of these games. Horizon has 2 games with some DLC, right? And I guess the climbing game. But still, it's like that's using a lot of the same characters. So what they're doing here is they're pulling from the other Lego universes. So there's like Lego City undercover characters and things like that in this game. So that's where the hot dog guy comes from in that update. And it's like, okay,
Sure.
I think some. Oh, go ahead, Shawn.
Oh, just real quick. I think that's where Lego games like should be personally, because that's how you play with Legos. Like when you're a kid or whatever, you just combine all the stuff. You don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So like, you know, they can use their like OCs or whatever, but yeah, just toss them all in there, whatever. That's your humor.
Yep.
I think the thing that is like so valuable about these games, as much as we like to dunk on perhaps the Horizon-ness of it, is that like all those mechanics that y'all were talking about earlier, like the modification of your weapons and the paying attention to the weak spots. If you're 9, right, Horizon too big of a video game for you.
Yes.
Right?
Actually, yes, yeah.
But like a Lego game where it is not, spoon feeding is too derogatory of a term, I think, but it is like simplifying and paring down these mechanics to their barest bones so that you can master them, so that you can then take it. Like a kid who was playing this game at 9 or 10 years old will be much better equipped moving forward to hop into perhaps Horizon 3 when they are 13 or 14.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whenever, by the time that game comes out, right? So like it is instructional in that way, and I think that like it's helpful.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm realizing now is like there are going to be a lot of houses with PlayStations and kids who have seen those games and had some curiosity about them, and this will enable them to engage with that. And also, it looks really nice. These Lego games,
it
just
looks
so
pretty
good now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say about Astro. Like, I think that there is like truly such an advantage that you have when you make the hardware to make the video game.
Yep.
Right. So I think I'm excited about both of them, actually.
All right. I think maybe we should talk about Monster Hunter next.
Oh, yes. I got to see the it was just kind of gameplay play for me. So, you know, a hands-off demo. I got to see a good chunk of it, though, and it is looking good. That is, I mean, it is just kind of like that next evolution of both world and Wilds right in terms of it, being like the big open kind of next gen looking thing. You still have those nice quality of life features from Wild, including the mount that is now more of a lizard and it can kind of float and stuff. But the big deal here is how much more seamless the camp stuff and the like mission stuff is. You now just kind of leave the camp and then you go out, you start hunting right away. Even when you finish your hunt, it's not just like, okay, now you're going to be teleported back to your, the camp. No, you can go there when you want to. You can stay out in the field if you want to just do another mission or hunt some more monsters or whatever. But, the monster stuff just looks so impressive still. It's like the last couple games have had different themings, right? Like Wild was a bit more Japanese. World was kind of like that, age of exploration, age of discovery stuff. And this has maybe a bit more of a Arabian or Mediterranean flair to it. I'm not exactly sure, but, lots of sand dunes and oases and things like that. So, they're doing a thing where they're hunting this monster, running across a sand dune, and then all of a sudden, like, another monster pops up from the sand and, like, wraps around the monster, and then they start fighting. And then a sandstorm rolls in, and all of a sudden you're in the sandstorm, and it looks like that scene from Mad Max Fury Road with lightning coming down, and you're dodging the lightning, and the lightning's hitting the monster sometimes, and you're still fighting it. And you have, like, your one giant sword weapon, but if you go on your mount, you can switch to your other weapon, and now you have kind of two loadouts you have access to. Just insanely impressive looking stuff. Like, I've been getting more and more into Monster Hunter each time they release one of these new ones since World, and like looking at this, I'm like, this is the one I'm like maybe going to lose a ton of time to. It looks very impressive.
Yeah, I think every time I talk to someone about this, and everyone got hands off, I believe. I don't know if anyone played the game.
I don't think anyone played it.
Right.
No.
There was like some stuff in the past where like at Judges Week at Summer Game Fest, people were like, yeah, maybe get your hands on it, but I don't think that happened here. But this is the game that so many people were buzzing about, and Monster Hunter fans and kind of Monster, and even people who aren't like super into the series alike were both like, this just looks fantastic.
Yeah, it's got my eye as like someone who World is the only one I played a lot of, and that did feel kind of approachable. And I had my problems with like co-op being difficult to get into, but ultimately I was into that one. Do you think that this could be for me if I skip the Rise and I'm not a big series fan in general?
Yeah, this is definitely, in some ways, it kind of is Monster Hunter World 2.
Okay.
Really, again, It brings in like some of that stuff from Rise. But yeah, it's just the next one. With all the stuff that made that great and a lot of other smart choices. I don't know how much better that kind of co-op experience is going to be for people who find the kind of current system somewhat abrasive.
Just the weird shit where it's like, you have seen this cutscene, I have not, and like, just complicated.
Sure.
Like how to even play it is the thing that I like, and everybody in my group was always confused. So like, I just want that to be a normal co-op game where people can just jump in and play.
Yeah, Monster Hunter is a weird one because ultimately the multiplayer has always just been basically like MMO raids, where you don't really do the story of an MMO with your friends. You do raids after you're done with like the main story quest. That's kind of what Monster Hunter multiplayer is. I would like to see if they just make it super easy to do a co-op campaign with your friends and that syncs up and everything. If they're tying everything into the Capcom ID because they have crossplay now and everything, first for the series, I'd like to think that they would have thought that through a little bit more, but I guess we'll have to see. I do know that the entries keep getting more accessible, though, and that's great to see as someone who has dabbled in the series since 3. I put in like a lot of hours with a 4 Ultimate on the 3DS because that's when I was, sort of at the end of my college year there, and so that was a great time to play with friends. But I haven't been hooked by the series since then, for the 2 entries and major expansions that have come out. And I think this looks great. I love how much more interaction there is with the environment in every single game. And they become so much more cinematic. And that's you can see that even just by the fact that, as far as we can tell, your player character is actively involved in the story as like a speaking character and everything.
Whoa.
So that's like you go from just like the MMO, just like nodding or like just like grunting along with everything to actually being a part of the story. And then you have, like Mike was mentioning, the turf wars between the monsters combined with apparently now more weather effects and everything. I think this looks great. I'm really excited to see how it turns out.
I played Battle Aces, which is that it's Dave Kim's game, who used to work on StarCraft, and Dave and Ash, were on our couch talking about it the last couple of years.
Great trailer, by the way.
Great trailer for like the cinematic stuff, and then I got the chance to actually get hands on with the gameplay, and I thought they did a good job of sort of capturing the energy of that trailer in the actual combat. A lot of that comes down to the attack effects having really kind of an anime look to them, but whatever. When you're playing it, it is what they say. It is a very easy to parse a real-time strategy game that you could tell is going to have very fast matches. There is a 10-minute timer, so whoever wins at the end, whoever has the highest score at the end of 10 minutes, which you'll get a warning that about 2 minutes about who's in the lead, and then 1 minute there'll be even more information. But so it's like it'll never go longer than 10 minutes. But I get the sense that a lot of these times it's going to end in 5 or 6 minutes, because all you got to do is like defeat the other person's sort of main spire, and it's really excellent in enabling you to like understand how to move the enemies, get behind enemy lines, and making sure you have all the information you need to like stay in the game. And I'm like, oh, I think this is going to be one that really wins me over.
I'm very curious because like I've wanted RTS to kind of come back in the way I remember it, which is just Command and Conquer. I basically just want more Command and Conquer, and like the way I always played that was very elaborate base building with like rules where it's like, okay, we get 30 minutes to build the base before we can start attacking. Like agreements, handshake
this
agreements and stuff.
This is the exact opposite of that.
Right, and so that's why I'm like. Part of me is like, oh, I want to play this. It looks like a RTS, and then part of it is like, oh, but I always hated it when people would like rush online and stuff like that. So like, and like unit management and army management stuff. So like, I'm curious, but we'll see if it's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, sure. I think there's definitely a bunch of these RTS games that are coming out and trying to hit different play styles. There's others that are going to have much more emphasis on the base building still, but this one's all about like you have your workers. They sort of are automated, and they just happen whenever you build one of these structures to build like the air units or something like that, and you have to protect them still, and you have to be mindful of them still, but you're not really micromanaging that. It is all about coming up with strategies and executing on it. Ash would keep saying the NBA Jam of RTS games, and I get that sense when I was playing it. Part of it was like, okay, I just got to learn the hotkeys about how to control stuff, but once I was getting the hang of that, it was very easy to realize the possibilities there. All right, let's go with Mike, let's go back to you with Dragon Age.
Yeah, that's another one that I just saw a hands-off demo of, but this was a whole kind of the first hour of the game. It was one I'm glad I saw because, like a lot of people, I did not like that CG trailer.
Yeah, it was rough.
It was weird vibe. It was very, kind of jokey and silly. It was stylized in a weird way that didn't really look like Dragon Age to me. Then like the actual game, yeah, there's still a little bit of that irreverent humor, but mostly like, yeah, because Varric's talking, he's always been that way. Or it's a thing where your character has 3, choices of dialogue, and one of them is like that. But no, otherwise, the game is taking itself seriously when it needs to, and it just kind of felt like the tone of Inquisition for the most part, and it looks very good. Like, it still is, like, colorful in a way that pops, but it didn't kind of have that smidge of a Fortnite look, I want to say, that maybe that teaser trailer had for me for whatever reason. Very graphically impressive, was running really well, very high detailed environments, good character animation. So just in general, I thought that the actual gameplay was very impressive here. It's still like a little bit of that, I don't want to say problem, but like that direction of Dragon Age that, as somebody who did prefer when Origin was very like computer RPG, invisible dice rolls and things like that. This is like Inquisition, basically an action game.
It's more like Mass Effect. That's what a lot of people are saying. To them, it looks like Mass Effect.
It looks like it's like when they switched, Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2, right?
Right.
And suddenly Mass Effect was mostly just a third-person shooter with cooldown abilities. That's what they did starting with Dragon Age 2, and that's been the direction since then. It's a little weirder now, and maybe this post-Baldur's Gate 3 world where a game did go back to just being, we're going to be pretty old school, actually, and it is going to feel a lot more like a more traditional RPG, and everybody liked that. And now this game is, once again, just like, push attack button, maybe dodge things, and then use your cooldowns. Now, there might be more to it because, again, this is very early on. So basically, we're running through this whole hour demo, and the guy has one ability, right? So there wasn't necessarily a whole lot depth we could see. But even still, just from what I remember of Inquisition, I'm not sure if I'm expecting it to get super intensely interesting on the combat side, at least for me. But in terms of being this very slick, story-driven Dragon Age adventure. And again, it is very much the story everybody wanted, right? With Solus, that character from the last game, and what he's up to, right? They're jumping right into that. Yeah. So we saw a lot going on there. But yeah, I as somebody who did not like that CG trailer and was a little maybe worried, not a giant Dragon Age fan, but I would like to play a good Dragon Age. This is looking very spiffy indeed.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of reactions. I think fans are worried, but every preview for the most part has been like, this looked way better than it did in that reveal trailer. So
yeah, the trailer should have just been shots from this. That trailer was just so freaking weird and clearly driven by people with different goals, I want to say. I don't know.
Were there any conversations, or did you hear anything about like choices from DAI coming over? It's like, for me, I played and beat Inquisition, but gun to my head could not tell you a single fucking thing that happened in it. And I, even when I was playing it, I didn't really realize that there was like a continuity. I didn't, because that was my first Dragon Age game. Or is there any discussion about like what they were? I'm sure the answer is no, but like any conversation about
there wasn't in front of me, but I've seen people online talking about that, and somebody has asked about them. There's some kind of answer there. I don't know exactly what it is, but in the past Dragon Age games, there has been thing like go to a website and say if this character died or not, and usually all that means is like at some point that character will show up for a cameo or not. I think largely the experience will be pretty much the same for you. Like, and it probably goes back to that last game. Again, like if somebody played Dragon Age Origins, I'm like, oh, it's like, is anybody from that game going to show up?
Yeah.
And they'd probably give me like side eye and tell me to leave.
All right. Let's see. Let's do Monkey Ball.
Yeah. Finally, a real video
man.
That was a lot of fun.
I was watching Monkey Ball with a live audience cheering. That was fun as hell.
Yeah,
that was great.
We all went to watch Dan play Monkey Ball. Banana Rumble is that name, and we were cheering him on as he was like trying to do speed running tactics right there at the demo booth. Yeah,
we found some.
Yeah, I guess
you're doing skips.
Yeah, you did skips. Yeah, absolutely. You got set some world records, I believe. It looked fun. How did it feel?
Felt great. Having to sit 6 inches from the screen and look straight up at it.
Well, the giant screen right there. It probably felt a little woozy. Yeah.
I was. And I think it was like a later night the night before, so it was quite a way to play Monkey Ball. But no, it's just straight up Monkey Ball. It's everything I always wanted about Monkey Ball. Like 1 and 2 for GameCube were still my like go-tos, despite all the like remakes and I they tried to do that adventure game and all that stuff. And the Wii motion was like, no, this is just classic ass Monkey Ball. Has a ton of multiplayer things that are all online, or I think most of them are online, with some of them up to like 16 players. I want to say, with like a full Mario Kart mode and like these banana hunt modes and all this stuff. And it's straight up a Monkey Ball game. It's you get a fun store, or you can buy stuff. I think I could probably give my monkey the Jeff Grubb Disneyland outfit.
Yeah, you probably could.
You got your Alan Grant hat and Hawaiian shirt. That'd be a good one. And good then God, what else was there? Oh, the Spin Dash. They added like a Spin Dash.
Right.
With,
Sonic is in it.
Oh.
And so, yes, and Sonic is literally, Kiryu, I believe, is one of the characters you can put in a ball.
I like the last one.
Yeah. Spin Dash is very much, it seems like it changes how things would work. Does that make you worry about the complexity or whatever?
Because I got to play this one too a bit. I think, I don't know if there's too many times where you would need to use it. It almost seems best for almost kind of like those skips, right? Because it's like, oh, here's a little ramp here that I can now turn into a big ramp if I use my dash at the right moment.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? It's like if you're racing on Rainbow Road and you have a mushroom, it's like, yeah, it's there, but it's risky. Like there's no edges to this. Like you're going to fly off. I'm sure for like speedrun people, they're going to go nuts with it, but playing it, it doesn't seem like a thing where it's like some of those games added a jump button and things like that kind of like change the base experience. This just seems like a little addition.
Okay.
But I don't know. I was only able to play, like one of the worlds, I think. So
it did just hit me like, what is spin dashing in Monkey Ball? Like literally, what does that look like? Do you have to be at full stop and then you just like
it's not like Sonic style where you like stop and spin up. It's just you kind of hold in B and it charges it and you let go to boost forward. But like you're still moving. It doesn't inhibit your normal motion, So
is this kind of like, I'm trying to picture, is it sort of like if you're playing like a pool and like, you hit the ball with the stick, and it's like you can do that anytime. You can sort of just like change your trajectory.
You're talking about like putting English on it? Like, no, it's not like a curvature thing. It's
no, I'm saying like
No
let's say you're moving like diagonally
Like-
this way. Like if you like aim the other way with the spin dash, can you like instantly move in that direction?
That's
instead of having to
a
tilt
great
the-
question. If it like totally stops you, like some games where it's like Mario Odyssey, where you could jump and then you could like jump on the hat and change.
Yeah, I was wondering if it
total
would work in
direction.
the air. Did it work in the air?
I think so. I think it's pretty versatile. I think you can also basically use it whenever you have to be.
You can kind of see it in the
whatever
video,
direction
everybody, a
it
little bit.
goes
Whenever
is
the arrow goes out in front of them, that's them using the spin dash. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Right, no, but that's like, that's how it works, right? It's so it's always pointing in the direction that you're already tilting anyways, right? So it could do things like help you maybe get to a complete stop faster and even give you that reverse momentum, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. It seemed like a nice addition. It didn't seem like something that changed the experience for me. So, I'm definitely excited for that one. I think it comes out soon, right?
Pretty soon.
Like in 2 weeks.
21st or 25th, something like that. Yeah.
Ooh, I hope there's leaderboards on that. That'd be fun.
There are definitely leaderboards on Lucky Ball, and I was already thinking like, okay, I'm this level, I'm just gonna play this 100 times to try to get it in 4 seconds instead.
Yep.
This is coming out on like everything, right? Because I had to play the Switch version, which for like that main mode was fine, but they made me play the multiplayer stuff with 16 characters on the Switch version, and that was looking a little rough.
Yes,
I mean, even main mode was kind of chugging frame rate wise, which makes me wonder. Wait, if we're doing leaderboard stuff, what do people want to play it on here?
I kind of want to play on PC so I could play on Steam Deck.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm trying to find it.
Many frames as
Wikipedia only has it listed as Switch.
Oh,
Interesting.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
so Mike was wrong.
if that-
Okay.
I mean, look, from
I
looking,
wasn't wrong. I literally asked, is it only on Switch?
Yeah, the official Twitter says it releases on Nintendo Switch, yada yada.
Dang.
All right. Well, I mean, listen, it worked good enough from what I saw you playing it, but you're right that I was like, oh, this looks a bit chunky and it looks a bit pixelated a little bit, but whatever.
We were also looking at a giant screen from directly below it.
Exactly. Yes.
I did have that thought too, of like, it's chugging a bit. So yeah.
Hope for the best, but at the very least, it felt good, right? It felt like a monkey ball.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's straight up what I wanted. In my mind, they made 1, then 2, then this.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to tell sometimes because like there's the big Monkey Ball freaks, because I liked those remakes or whatever they did like last time a lot. And now people are like, they've changed the way Monkey Ball feels. I was like, oh, they yes, of course they did. I noticed that for sure.
Mike, let's do some of the other Sega stuff. Sonic Cross Shadow Generations. The year of Shadow is here. They ran out of Shadow Shakes, so really it was a terrible summer game fest. But how was the game?
It's good. Sonic Generations is definitely one of the better Sonic games from that era. I maybe don't love it as much as some people, but it's a fun one to play through. The Shadow stuff is pretty, it's interesting, and it is it's a good amount of things. It is completely new levels, and even though he plays pretty similar to the Sonic style here with the boost mechanic and whatnot, there's something about it that does feel a bit more like how the Sonic Adventure games played. It's a bit less just constant boosting, less of those 2D segments that they throw into the 3D Sonic levels all the time. And as somebody who did play Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 a lot, I kind of prefer that feel for 3D Sonic as opposed to the kind of Sonic Unleashed or Sonic Colors boost style. So that was fun to see. Still a little bit of that Sonic jank here and there. Still was a boss battle that, again, I don't know why the 3D Sonic games don't ever have great boss battles, but it was fine. But
Does Shadow have a gun?
No, I specifically asked about it. I was like, is Shadow gonna have a gun this time? I said, nah, not this time.
Yeah, who was, I think VGC might have got the headline of why isn't Shadow have a gun? And one of the creators was like, Shadow doesn't need a gun anymore. He is a weapon. I was like,
Steve Blackman. He's like, Steve Blackman.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Registered weapon in 50 states. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is neat. This is even more neat than what they did with Sonic Colors Ultimate, because it is that remaster, but this Shadow stuff, it's meaty. There's something there. It is like a whole nother. I don't know how long it'll be, but it's very distinct.
I was going to ask because it looks like there's a good amount of content here. People are comparing something they just didn't really even talk about until people got their hands on preview stuff and read the website and stuff. In Sonic Generations, there is a 2D level select quote unquote overworld. Shadows is actually like, it's in the same visual style, but it is like a Sonic Frontiers zone. It's like, it looks like this pretty big thing that you can like go around and like go into levels and everything. And then of course he has all of his own levels and everything. It does seem like they're adding a lot of content to the game. And you know, as the other big Sonic fan around here, Generations is easily my favorite Sonic game of the modern era. So I'm really looking forward to going back and playing all the old stuff, as well as just getting new content within this game that I already love.
Wow.
That's really awesome. And Mike mentioned the level design being a little more interesting than Generations has. And I already see that. Specifically, it looks like the level structure of Sonic Heroes a little bit more. So in that adventure vein, but like basically being linear, but also there's a path up here if you do something just right at just the right amount of
I
time.
like that.
Yeah, like you see like, oh, there's a platform up there. How do I get there? Oh, there's a ring trail. Okay, there's a little hidden mine. Get that ring trail and like get up there and then go down a different path. So it looks, and they said that it is a lot of the original team working on this. And what like the director of the game is the director of Generations back in the day. So it seems like they are just expanding on this game that, you know, I think this Generations is a Sonic game where we can all agree, yeah, that one was pretty good, right? Like, even if you don't like Sonic, that's the one that people point to. So I think it's very smart of them to just expand on that one as this like anniversary edition style thing.
Just to like help me 100% with this game. So it is a remake, but the Shadow stuff is all new. That's what you're saying?
Yes. It's like a remaster, and then the Shadow stuff is like a new bonus campaign. It's the Bowser's Fury of the experience.
Yeah, you do think that's the appropriate comparison?
Yes.
Okay, very cool. That's pretty neat. I'm glad, and I like what you said about like being able to find the high part of the level, because that is my favorite stuff to do in Sonic, and a game that sort of focuses on that would be interesting to me at the very least. I thought I was watching Imran play. I was watching over his shoulder while Dan was playing Monkey Ball. I kept asking, I'm like, what do you think? He's like, I'm got to be honest, I'm being entertained. I find it entertaining. And I think that is the meaty spot for Sonic.
That's high praise coming from Imran, too.
Yes.
So I'll take that.
Just positive Sonic conversation on Giant Bomb. Let's go.
It's happening. Just be entertaining. If you're Sonic, just be entertaining. It's fine.
Let's boil it down. This is an A or B question. Every one of us, are you pro or anti-Sonic? I'm going to say pro. No elaboration. You have to say pro or anti. I am pro Sonic.
I guess I'm anti-Sonic. I guess.
No, don't say I guess. Say I am blank Sonic.
I am anti-Sonic.
Mike Minotti.
Pro Sonic.
Say I am.
I am pro Sonic.
Nikki.
I am pro Sonic.
All of the vegetables that are.
Sorry, I was trying to record it and I actually played that instead. My bad.
Sonic's not a vegetable.
Yeah.
Sean.
I am pro Sonic, Dan Soundboard.
We have one anti-Sonic.
And listen, if I could elaborate, I would be like,
Nope, that's not part of the deal. All right, move on.
I'm pro Sonic Mania. All right, Metaphor ReFantazio. Let's finish out this the Sega section. This is another one that me and Jam kept glancing over at, and I'm like, that UX is very good. And then I couldn't tell anything else that was going on. Mike, you got to play it. How was it?
I got to play maybe 45 minutes of this at various stages in the game, kind of a beginning section, a dungeon section, and something a bit more deeper into the game, like a boss battle. I'm like, I love those Persona games, and I was excited for this. I was like, okay, fantasy Persona. And what I love is like, it is that in the best way possible in terms of just being super slick, right? Like things like the transition from the field into a battle and those UI and UX elements and like the music just being incredible. Oh, the battle song. So good. I kind of just sat there and had to listen to that. But also like does feel like its own thing in interesting ways. Like the battle system here, you do have like that, if you exploit an enemy weakness, you get like, one more turn. But that way that works is differently. There are like all the your team takes a turn, then the enemies take a turn. You kind of have points for your turns, but you can use those points to maybe do a team up attack that costs 2 points instead. And what team up attacks you have depends on your party composition. Doesn't mean characters, because there's like a job system. So, and I love job systems. So you could take this person, they're going to maybe be a mage, and that's going to give them different abilities. If you have a mage in this other class, then that's going to give you access again to other abilities. So just the composition details there seem very exciting. And then the world looks all kinds of fucked up,
It
right?
looks
Like
really
you know,
messed up, yeah.
Yeah.
right. Well, because you're in this fantasy place, and it's like, oh, look at this. This is a fantasy book, and it's just like a picture of Tokyo or something. Oh, and then you come across like the first grotesque monster. Somebody's like, these things are called humans. It's like, what's going on here? So just it's gonna be fun to see where all that goes. All of the characters already look appealing. There's like a mouse guy with a very deep voice, and I love him a lot. Like when he has like his like mage job that he's like, think I know nothing of spells, do you? Or something like that. I'm like, oh, excellent delivery. Very much into that. Yeah, this really impressed me. I was excited for this after playing it. I am very excited for Metaphor. They seem like they're doing an amazing job here. Oh, like a really cool detail is when you're running around the field, if you're like encounter a weak enemy, you kind of have like light attacks you can do in the field. And in a Persona game, it'd be like, oh, hit somebody with an attack so you get advantage, right? So you get to attack first in the random battle or whatever. Here, if an enemy's weak enough, you can just actually kind of hack and slash them like it's like a standard action game. And then for the bigger enemies, if you kind of hack and slash a bar away, that's how you get advantage. And in the meantime, you still have to dodge attacks because if they hit you back, then they're going to get advantage. So there is like a little bit of that real-time action combat scenario there in between the turn-based battles. It's just, I don't know, it switches things up a little bit in a very pleasant way.
Okay, I'm interested in so much of this because I'm really, really looking forward to this game as a big Persona guy. And someone who SMT has never really appealed to me.
Sure.
If I'm not mistaken, yeah, the SMT5 embargo lifted earlier this morning, and I have nothing to say about it, unfortunately, because I still can't bring myself to play SMT5. I want to, but between being busy and then just thinking to myself, it's SMT5. It never really appealed to me in the first place. I really want to give it a shot. It's just, Lexi said when she was on the couch, she was like, it's very brutal. And that's always been like a sticking point. It's like, it's hard to get into those games. This seems like they very much are playing to the Persona crowd with how much more colorful it is and how
Character driven too.
Yeah, character driven. Everything's structured in a more similar way. When it comes to the combat, because that's something that actually interests me, Mike. I want you to correct me on this because the way I tried to explain to my friend who's also into Persona but not SMT, I said it seems like based on the trailer, the live stream they did a couple of weeks ago, it seems like you can like wipe out small mobs on the map action RPG style, but then if you want to engage in like a tougher enemy or a boss fight, what have you like switch into the traditional Persona style, and that's when you do the tactical stuff,
right? But it's like
stuff.
But again, it's like even then you can still hack and slash them because they have like a bar, and if you hack and slash the bar to a certain point, then you push the button to activate the actual turn-based battle. You have advantage. So there is still that element there, right?
Almost like a stagger gauge on the overworld, where once you hit a certain point, then you can engage in the turn-based. Okay, it's the Pokken tournament of RPGs. Got it.
Yeah. Or if you don't want to do it, you can just go up to them and push a button and just turn it into the turn-based battle right away.
That just won't give you like the
give you
backstab.
Right, exactly. Okay, yeah, gotcha. It's like in Persona 3 Reloaded, all you do is like you sneak up and you just hit them with the sword, and that's advantage. No, it's a bit more complicated here.
I think that's a very interesting approach, and based on everything everyone said, I'm just even more excited for this now.
It was very, very, very slick. It's just somebody who like maybe at one point was like, oh, I kind of wish they just went straight to Persona 6 instead of doing this. No, I am super sold on what they are doing with this game from what I played. I have a feeling I'm going to love it.
Niki, I believe you played Hyper Light Breaker.
I did. I had a freaking blast with this video game.
And you're big Hyper Light drifter, right? That's the first one, your mark for that?
So I like the way that game looked.
Yeah, that's where I'm at
10
too.
minutes of it and was like, I don't think this one's for me.
Same, yeah.
But like looking at that game really, like I fell in love with the way it looked. And then when they announced this game, I was like, oh, actually the format of this kind of seems more enthralling to me. It's a third person character action-ish roguelite or roguelike. And the thing about this game is that every run it procedurally generates the chunks of the map. And then there are a handful of different biomes that are all smushed together. You have little sub-objectives. There's secrets all over the map. There's these sub-objectives. You have to beat these mini bosses to get keys, and those keys unlock the door to the bigger bosses. You beat those bigger bosses, and that's how you end the run. There's a bunch of different weapons that are all randomly generated run to run. The way it feels is really good. The weapon diversity is really cool. There was a pistol, there were sniper rifles, there was an assault rifle-esque gun. One thing that I when I started the demo, I definitely was like, oh, I have a gun? How cool. Beep, 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 beep. I'm gonna shoot everybody. And then I like killed the handful of guys that I killed and was like, all right, it's time for more combat. And then I went to go shoot and I had no bullets. And I heard the dev that was walking me through snicker. And I was like, what? And then I just got lit the fuck up. And he was like, yeah, you're out of bullets. And I looked up and I was like, oh, I had 8 bullets total. And he was like, yeah, the only way to get more bullets is to kill people without the bullets. And I was like, interesting.
Doom Eternal, okay.
Yeah, so it really is like primarily a melee combat with your projectile weapon being your kind of last resort. But it's also like that was just the way that it shook out for me that run, right? It seems like there is a lot of room for variation in the way that that mechanic can work, in those conversations that you have with your weapons can move back and forth. Looked really cool. I think the procedural generation, it reminded me a lot of Risk of Rain 2, actually. There's co-op, there's 3-person co-op. And all of your loot is localized to you, so you don't have to fight your friends or the people that you're playing with for the loot. You get your own loot that generates on the map. There are multiple systems to carry over certain items from run to run. You can decide to, if you pick something up and you're like, I actually don't want this or need this, you can stash it and either pull it forward because it is not advantageous for you on this run, or you can scrap it and get currency that you could use between runs and in the hub world. You have conversations with people, but there are no like traditional cutscenes. And I think the producer that I was chatting with mentioned that I guess this is a thing in Hyper Light Drifter, but like all of the story is ambient. There's no cutscenes, so there are these visual vignettes that there's no text. It's just like you unlock and decrypt these pictures, and then you look at the pictures, and then it has them in order, kind of like a comic or a graphic novel. And sometimes the pictures will be in conversation with other pictures that are also in that biome, and they're all like character vignettes. And it seems like the meaning of them will change depending on how many of them you unlock. It seems really cool. It's coming into early access late summer is what they said, so that could be any time between like August and September. But I'm really excited about it. I think we should play it on the site with
I think
that
so too.
mode.
I was watching some of it and I was
really
getting
cool.
the same idea. I'm like, yeah, this would be really fun to actually just straight up play on the site. It looked really good. All right, let's do Path of the Goddess, and let's kind of like wrap up the other ones kind of quickly. Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess. Who played that, Mike? That was you?
I played this over at Capcom. This is that kind of action-looking game, new IP. I believe it debuted last year at Xbox's Showcase. At the time, I was kind of cool on it. I played it here. I was surprised. This is mostly a tower defense game, it turns out. I don't know if everyone else do that. I'm just kind of late to the party. But yeah, like you have this maiden who you kind of have to get from point A to point B. And then you have these kind of people you can help, and you can kind of upgrade them and tell them where to go. And meanwhile, yeah, like it's like there's like phases of daytime where you're setting up, then phases of nighttime where the monsters start coming down towards the pass. And you have like, you're there running around too, and you can fight. And I kind of like the combo system because it's relatively simple. It's like, push Y, do a strong attack. XY, looks like your aerial. XY, your AoE. So everything is like a combination of X's, and then Y is the finisher. But yeah, it really is just like, yeah, protect the woman while she dances down the path, gets to the place. There was like a boss fight specific stage that switched up a little bit just in terms of like, it almost suddenly felt a little bit more Pikmin-esque, I guess, because it was like I was telling my people when to go in and attack the boss and when to retreat and protect the maiden instead, kind of things like that. But no, pretty tower defense-y in a way that even though tower defense isn't my most favorite genre in the world, I thought that made this interesting. Again, when I first saw this and it just looked like a relatively generic hack and slash thing, it didn't really appeal to me. So seeing that depth there was welcome.
Interesting.
Do you have a question about it, Shawn, before we move on?
I think most people feel the exact opposite of how you do, Mike.
Yeah, I think everyone's upset it's a tower defense, actually.
Well,
I think a lot of people wanted it to be Onimusha, and it's not that.
I've been saying for a long time now, why is this not just Onimusha Gaiden or something? Oh, that's why.
Yeah, that's why.
It's like,
you got it.
Because it's like Odama with Dante or something.
Honestly, watching the gameplay, that's Odama came to me as well. I'm like, am I just playing as a little guy on the Odama playfield? What the hell?
It's like,
it's like the Command and Conquer Renegade of Odama.
Yes. Ghost,
figured it out.
StarCraft Ghosts. All right. You guys also played Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. Esports star Niki took 2 games off of Mike. Is that right?
Well, once we figured out how to turn on the simplified controls for Niki.
Wow. The meeting came out the caveat.
It counts. It counts.
A dub's a dub.
A dub is a dub.
Damn right.
I looked at that. They presented the move list on. It looked like a Chili's menu.
Yeah,
like they gave it to us, and they were like, "Here's the move list," and I was looking at it, and I was like, "I've never fucking seen I don't even know what a controller is. Like, what the fuck is this?" And Mike, so kind, so generous. I could tell Mike was holding back initially because I was like, "I'm gonna press square and triangle and square and triangle," and I was like, "I'm not doing anything. Like doing the same like low punch over and over again." And eventually, I was like, "Listen, I have to call it adult over. We got to put this shit on smart so I can play the game."
That's why they're there.
Yeah, we did have a good time. I've played this game's kind of predecessor, Garou, Mark of the Wolves, only recently and enjoyed it a lot. And it does, again, I'm not like the biggest Fatal Fury knowledge man in the world. Knowledge man?
Making up all kinds of things today.
Noted knowledge man.
That's the term, yes.
But this did feel like that game to me, which is good because that's a very good feeling game. Feels like a lot of fun. Just the good systems that they have there with the kind of revving up and that thing where you get to choose like, can you do your special moves when you're in the first third of your health, the second third, or the third? That's a fun decision to make. I still don't love the way the game looks. It's not some big deal breaker.
Yeah.
It's like it kind of wants to have this comic presentation, so it has some cell shading, and then it'll randomly do those like comic dots as a layer, and that's like kind of non-committal.
It felt, that's exactly the word I was going to use. It felt non-committal. It felt confused. Like it just didn't. It also felt dated.
Yeah,
like this.
It looks old.
It looked like an HD PS2 game.
SNK is making games on a not huge budget, so they need to find ways to cover things up, and that's why KOF 15 looked the way it did, was simpler cell shaded art style, and they're carrying that over into City of the Wolves, and they decided to go with like a Marvel 3 art style, which is why Mike doesn't like it, because he thinks Marvel 3 is an ugly game, and I quote. And
that's true.
He admitted.
But yeah, so that's why this one looks the way it does. It's easier to do that with like shaders and stuff on a budget than to do a really high fidelity game.
It's just
by the way, this is like one of the greatest trailers of all time.
Oh, sorry, I literally just got rid of it as soon as you said that. But yes, there you go.
Wow, you're an awful person.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just always a hard pill for me to swallow, just because like there was a time where it was like SNK made the best looking fighting games because they were so good at like pixel graphics, and I guess I get why we can't just go back to that, but part of me is like, can't we just go back to that? If any company could just go back to it, like it should be SNK.
People don't want to believe me on this, but pixel art is like a dying art. It's hard to find people who can do that for like an entire major game. That's why you see it more in the indie space with people who are specialized at it, because you look at something like KOF 13, they like rotoscoped to make the pixel art. Like that's what they had to do just to get it to look good. So I'm really excited though. Who'd you get to play as?
Gosh,
most of the roster
was everyone who's revealed that
was in that demo. I think
no,
that's what I'm wondering.
Though.
Oh, okay. Jenny and the other guy weren't in there yet?
No, we had, Terry and Rock and the newer woman with the glasses was there.
Glasses girl.
Yeah.
And Rocco or whatever the guy is. Again, not the biggest Fatal Fury knowledge man.
Marco.
That's it. Marco.
You know, in the Japanese Mega Man series, Dr. Light is known as Knowledge Man.
Yeah, that's right.
It's going to be interesting because, so we're getting Fatal Fury characters in Street Fighter 6. Right, we're going to get a Terry and then they're going to look very nice in that.
Yeah.
Right? So,
God, I think Susie said when the internet gets RE Engine Mai, it's just game over. Like everything is over. Which, by the way, I didn't get a chance to talk about that yet. What a freaking moment! Like, my guy, Big Man Finelli, mentioned it when he was on the couch. But this is like a historic moment for fighting games. Street Fighter is getting its first ever guest characters, and it's from Fatal Fury / King of Fighters, which is a big deal because they've collaborated, they've done all this stuff before, but for the first time, like mainline numbered Street Fighter is getting this, which is that was an incredible announcement for me. Like, this was a good SGF for me. I got that. Yeah. I got B Jenny, my girl, revealed for City of the Wolves. This was a great time to be a fighting game fan. I'm really looking forward to both those things.
I did get to play a little bit of Street Fighter 6. I did get to try out M. Bison, who is the first character of season 2, and very fun, very excited. Season 1 characters for Street Fighter 6 didn't do much for me. I'm very excited about the Street Fighter 6 roster, especially Elena from Street Fighter 3. Finally from Street Fighter 3 representation in there.
Yeah, season 1 felt like they were all just leading up to Akuma. Season 2 is they're starting off strong with Bison. They're going to have the 2 SNK characters, and they're also having a fan favorite in Elena. That's a really good
That
lineup.
sounds very strong, yeah.
Are they going to put Mario in Street Fighter?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
They
Eventually.
should do that.
They should do that.
Yeah, or make a new Soul Calibur and put all the Mario guys in it.
There you go.
Yeah.
I played Yars Rising, which is that Metroidvania from Way Forward based on the Yars Revenge Atari game from way back in the way back. And it had a better showing when I was playing it than it did in that Nintendo Direct. It still looks a little bit like made on a budget in terms of visuals, but I thought it's got solid gameplay, and I really like the hacking mini game is you just playing Yars, like you're just playing the old game, and they add complexity on that later, like as you go through the game. That was pretty interesting. I'm like, I thought that was clever.
What is this for a person who's not 85?
Yeah, so that's right. Niki's right. Howard Scott Warshaw, the guy that made E.T., also made Yars Revenge, and it's probably one of the better Atari 2600 games in terms of having a lot to do, having complexity and depth. But the real reason I remember it is because on G4, every commercial break early on, they'd have, I'm Howard Scott Warshaw. I made the worst game of all time in E.T. and one of the best games of all time, Yars Revenge. Yeah. I'm like, Howard, it's not that beloved, but it was cool. It's a good game. So apparently Way Forward went to Atari and was like, hey, do you want some help? And they're like, pitch us on a game, pick anything. And they picked Yars and like, hey, we'll make that into a Metroidvania. It is... You basically are getting these abilities. You could slot them into your little Yars bug like thing that is a menu option where it's like you're slotting in these abilities like a puzzle, and that's determines how many different kinds of abilities you can have at any one time. And these things use up your a sort of currency. So if you're going to do like the big double jump, that uses up a little bit of the currency, and then to get that back, you just need to do certain things in combat to make sure you're like parrying at the right time. So it kind of encourages a little bit more engagement with the systems than a standard Metroidvania. But I was pretty happy with it. Now we got Marlon on there. So
is this the first Yars game since that Toyota one on Xbox 360?
That's Yaris, but yes, very close.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I feel like
people are telling yes. Yeah, wow. You should be really
It's okay.
embarrassed
You're
right
not
now.
knowledge man, Dan.
That's true. That's true. I don't claim to be the knowledge man here.
Jeff, how did it just feel though? Because like as we pointed out when it first got revealed, it looked extremely stiff.
Yeah, it feels good enough. Like it's not Metroid Dread, but it's not like it doesn't play so stiff that it's like, oh, this stinks. Like, no, it feels like a pretty decent Way Forward game. Like I think people have a pretty good idea of how those feel. Like Shantae, it feels like Shantae, which I think is good.
Okay.
Shantae's fine. Yeah.
I like Shantae.
Last thing I have on the list here, and if anyone else has anything else they want to shout out and pop off before we're done, they can. But Tales of the Shire, Niki, was this you?
Yeah. I watched John Warren, who was on the couch over at VGB's. I watched it over his shoulder. and Bailey also played it. Looked really cute. Like, I don't really think I have very much to say about it. That team seemed unbelievably proud of the video game that they had made.
And this is the Hobbit like farming game, right?
Yes, it's a Hobbit cozy farming sim, Animal Crossing like.
Right.
They were amped to talk about their game, and everyone always is, but they were really proud of the thing that they had made, and excited to show it off. And I think that like their love for the source material really came through in every bit of the presentation. There's a bunch of foot options if you care about that, and the character creator. They were very proud of the fact that you can have your own little Hobbit house or whatever the fuck they're called.
Hobbit hole.
I won't be saying that. So you can have your little Hobbit house.
Right in Hobbit hole.
Minotti has seen MacGruber now, so he knows the "I like holes" line.
I like holes line. He knows it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good.
You're loco, man.
But the thing that they were very proud of and wanted, like, really were trying to drive home is that they had the opportunity and considered making it grid based when you were putting stuff down like Animal Crossing. And then they were like, but that's not how any of the houses in those movies or in this story look. There's kind of shit everywhere. So you can really just like put stuff anywhere. Like you just drop anything anywhere when you're customizing those spaces. And I'm really excited to see what, like, inevitably on TikTok right after this game comes out. I think like there's going to be an explosion of house tours and whole tours. And I think there will be, I'm excited for this.
What does wholetours.com go to right now?
giantbomb.com.
Let's check it out.
Can we check Giant Bomb, I think. Yeah.
I'll leave that one to you all.
Yeah.
Wholetours.com.
Nothing.
Can someone grab that?
Yeah, if we can get wholetours.com, that'd be great.
Jan.
We should wrap up real quick before we do that. Shawn, you were at home. You saw stuff that we might not have seen. Anything stick out to you that you are wondering about?
Oh, that's a good question, Jeff. I have been like dabbling in a whole bunch of demos that have come out from like a variety of different events. I'm trying to keep track of where everything came from. Anton Blast got a demo as part of something.
I did meet the Anton Blast guys, and several times they're like, "Thank you for knowing our game when it got shown at like a direct or whatever." I'm like, "Yeah, Anton Blast rules." That's the WarioWare looking game.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and it's. Yeah, go on.
Did you watch Ubisoft? Because we may have all been busy during that, but I don't know if you actually saw that.
Did. It was a bad show.
It was a lot of stuff that was already known, right? It was basically
a lot of stuff that was already known. A lot of people doing weird Ubisoft talking, and just I don't know. I didn't like the vibe of it at all. Just generally speaking, two of the things that did stand out to me that we haven't talked about at all yet, and you guys have kind of talked about them already, but in the Xbox show, I thought Fragpunk looked really interesting.
Yes, that did look good.
Sick as hell.
Yeah, like I was thinking to myself, okay, this like 1 minute trailer of just the sickest thing you can imagine. That is how you show off a hero shooter in 2024, not what everyone else is doing with like Concord and everything like that. No, just show me I can flip the level upside down and turn on big head mode. Okay, see ya. We'll see you next year or whatever. That was sick. And yeah, the art style's good and everything. That trailer, I think, looked really cool. I think that one's going to be fun. And then Doom. I love Doom, and that was just an incredible trailer.
My understanding is that the Xbox get together, whatever, didn't have a lot of these games to play. Obviously, Doom's
they were not playable.
Okay. They had Stalker 2 was on the SGF show floor, and I didn't play that. We'll be playing that later. This year,
looked great, though.
Looked really impressive.
It looked very pretty.
Yes,
Xbox had a really good show this year. I think everyone knows that everyone was talking about it, but I just felt that it was worth saying again.
That new Mirror's Edge there is called Perfect Dark for some reason, but very excited for it.
I'm a little down on Perfect Dark just because I think it looks slightly generic sci-fi.
I have great news for you. Perfect Dark is generic.
No, Perfect Dark is weird, wacky, and wild sci-fi.
I think they are setting it up for like the turn. I think they're setting up for the Prestige.
Yes, exactly. This was just like the initial reveal trailer to just like make it clear to people who don't know, hey, this is our James Bond style spy game hitman-y thing because it's an MSIM now. It's that. I think they were setting up for that. And then at least hopefully we'll
There will
see
be
anything
weird aliens in that
weird.
game. I think
The
so.
weird
Elvis.
aliens are
Named
Named
Elvis.
Because, yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I did
this,
forget about that guy.
Yeah,
in
it's
this
weird.
trailer, honestly, if you had told me that this was like another futuristic Call of Duty or it was Killzone or something like that, there were moments where I was like, that, yeah, I could see that. So that was a little worrying. But yeah, once they got into like the parkour stuff and some of the art things that they showed, I was like, okay, this is looking a little bit better. And I hope they just keep going down that path with this one.
Some of it looked like the Far Sight vision, you know, like
Right.
looking through doors and stuff.
Yep.
Like it seemed to
Yeah,
match
detective
that.
vision. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think if they
I
just get
still
creative
think-
with that stuff, it'll go a long way.
exactly.
They had me at parkour. I'm good. I'm
Yeah,
in.
we really should play Perfect Dark Zero. We should get 4 people.
Dude, I kind of want to. I kind of been
Okay.
desperate.
The
to play it.
multiplayer is actually kind of okay. Like,
Yeah.
I did it with Drew Scanlon for an Extra Life a few years ago, and it was not great.
Dan, you're
Okay.
exempt. You don't have
Okay.
to.
Listen,
Not great.
Me and Minotti will beat.
There we go,
Perfect
let's
Dark
go.
Zero.
All right, there. Someone's telling me a Golden Idol demo is out. Okay, that's
I'm
important.
so fucking excited because I just randomly started playing the last Golden Idol. I didn't even know a sequel was coming out, and now I hear
How
there's a new
awesome.
one coming. And I
Yep.
looked at the trailer, and it's like 70s detective shit, and I'm like, oh, I'm extremely in on this now.
I'm very
yeah.
excited. Also, there's a game in the Steam Next Fest demo called Pinball Spire, which looks like
yeah,
just
I was
a
gonna mention that.
pinball
yeah,
game
yeah.
with Metroidvania. I think we're gonna save.
Yeah, I got to try that.
We're gonna
They
save Jeff
did that
Beckelar's
once.
life here.
A Yoko's Island Express.
Yoko's Island
That's the
Express
one
is
I'm
what you're
thinking
thinking
of.
of. Yes.
That-
yeah,
yep,
totally.
yep.
I played it for like 20 minutes before bed the other night or something, and I thought the pinball physics feel a little weird, but it's an
Okay.
interesting idea.
Never
So I'm
mind,
curious
I mean,
Jeff
to see
physics
how it
aren't
goes.
important to pinball typically.
No,
No.
yeah, it's all just made up. All right, we should wrap this up. We got Black Club happening in a little bit. We'll take a little break of a break before
Late
we get to
Chimera.
that. Late coming in, yes. But thank you all for talking with me about video games. We will have more coverage from Summer Game Fest because there's still stuff embargoed. We'll probably just talk about those on Bombcast going forward. But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, everybody. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.